Say hello.
Hey everybody. Um, I'm Kinsen, as Deb introduced me. We had the fortune of a small group member kind of pushing I wouldn't say pushing, but introducing a different model, right? Of kind of gathering and what it made me realize was what he had said was like, you know what, there seems to be like a formula, right? So it's like you you get the logistics down, you gather together, right? You have a meal, people small talk for a little bit. There's a there's a Bible study. A handful of people contribute. A handful of other people ask a couple questions. There's some tangents that had to be reined in, and then there's a brief call for prayer at the end, and one person closes the prayer, closes the group, right? It's like there's maybe like a 1 or 2 minute prayer at the end, and there's not this, and it's a solid start. Um, so he, so we kind of there was an acronym basically, as we call it SPA, right? and and SPA was basically spirit led, um, prayer focused, and accountability. There would be a brief period of eating, but we immediately split into gender groups. So women were encouraged, to separate. The men were in another group, and then in that period, we basically shared our struggles, our prayer requests, and then we prayed for each other. Some weeks it's just like I'm just grinding through life, right? There's nothing happening. Um, I'm just I'm going through the rhythms of life, but other times you have people who are like, you know what, I'm really struggling, right? And we always wanted to, when we said spirit led, we treated that as a moment that the spirit was saying like, you need to talk about this, right? Your brothers or your sisters need to hear you and then pray over you, right? So that your struggles can can be shared, right? The burden can be shared with a group without the pressure of a defined agenda. and then um, and then after that was done, we did a study. Sometimes we had lots of time for a study, and then sometimes the study didn't happen, right? And that was okay. And this model is probably not appropriate for new believers, right? Because um, there's less of an emphasis on kind of like studying the word. There's just more of an emphasis on that accountability, about praying for each other, and about really kind of like more meaningful sharing within the group. Every fortnight, the facilitators there was a rotation, and the way it ended up was you basically, quote unquote, led or facilitated a study uh, once every quarter, right? So it was very low stress. Like we ended up hosting pretty much 90% of it, but because I didn't have to prepare a meal or cook any, like do any dishes, it was just kind of like people just showed up. They took their trash, the rubbish in Australia. We call it trash in the States, with them, and it was actually refreshing. It never felt exhausting. It was so when we so we like that word spa because there wasn't burnout. Also, to be prayed over, right? To have that sense of community, it never felt burdensome. Like, oh yeah, I have to. I think Rowan kind of also alluded to this. Is like I have to go to church, right? I have to. This is what's expected of me. To be a good Christian, I should, not only go to service but also be in a small group, right? And I don't know. There's a hierarchy. It's like so. It's like after you've been in it, then you should lead one, right? And then if you can lead one, then maybe you should do these other things, which kind of gets into that that 80/20 thing of like the person the believers who show an inkling for service tend to be the same people that ministers go to, right? It's just kind of human nature, right? It's like, okay, you showed up to the small group prep and training. So if I'm thinking of someone who needs to run the next program, I'm going to go to the same people, right? I'm not going to go to the people I don't know, don't have a relationship with, which creates this whole cycle. And at least in the Asian church that I was in New York City, this really created cycles of uh, I mean, abuse is not the right word, but that's how people felt. Right? Nobody was abused. It's like, I really kind of don't even like using that word, but there is a word that I'm probably not quite being able to say, where people felt that they were taken advantage of. Right? It's like, you keep on coming to me, right? And I want to serve, right? But there's no end to it. There's no end to it, right? And you created a situation where people felt burnt out and they left the church, right? They felt guilty because they didn't want to serve, and they actually ended up leaving the church so they can go to another church and be an anonymous attendee, right? I just want to come here to service without the expectation, right, that I have to do something. And and that model is there. I feel like the small group model I just described should be familiar to anybody who's been in church for more than a couple of years, right? And so so I don't think I can go back, at least ever, like, long term. We love the spa model. Actually, when Linda and Jim asked us to help lead, that's the first thing we did, was introduce it. We just spa, because it just let everybody kind of like go around. And in our society now, it behooves us to create pockets of intimacy, right? I mean, like, and you have to be intentional about it, right? There's no your institutions aren't interested in creating pockets of intimacy for you, right? Social media or advertising is not, streaming services, a lot of these massive companies, like in the whole attention economy, they are not interested, right, in creating space for intimacy, for community. And unfortunately, the church hasn't done a great job of it either, to be honest, right? They do it, and I'm not saying that they don't try, but for the most part, they do not. Which means that it's really up to individuals. It's part of why we're so excited about this project, is like, we can kind of come in with a fresh set of ideas and mindset, to create community. Anyway, that was it.
That's gold, Kinsen. Thank you for unpacking that. That's massive topics, lots of topics in there. Try to unravel,
the abuse.
abuse, burnout, or just I think a lot of us, we would understand exactly what you're saying and resonate, and not by anyone's intention. It's just human nature, just to gravitate to where there's response. And so, no, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, Danny, any thoughts there?
I was cutting in and out a little bit. I've only got 2 bars here, but I loved I got the part where Kinsen was sharing about the group that he had in the States, and what a great model, and the idea, the contrast that it built him up. It was building up. It wasn't tiring, versus the other model, where you actually people almost think, I need to tap out and escape and go somewhere else. So I love that. I love that contrast, and I know we are all for that first model, and certainly what we're setting up ourselves, I think, in our own way, where you don't burden one couple or 2 couples, and it's a paradigm that we've been talking through. That sometimes I think that the word leader, are you a leader or not a leader? And that's why Rowan went, I'm not a leader, and leader, like, because leader meant something, like, therefore, but I feel like in many ways we are all ambassadors of Christ. We are all, and the moment you own that little bit, you go, therefore I'm going to bring food, and I'm going to contribute something. I'm going to share something. I'm going to share my points. I'm going to be vulnerable. Guess what? I've contributed. I've added to the body. I'm going to listen for what's going on, and I'm going to pray for that person. I might even catch up with them for lunch afterwards, because I felt something happen. And each of us as individuals can do that. So that, I know the Bible talks about leaders, so it's not like it's a bad word, but I do think we've done something to that word, and that it just burdens that 20%. It's burdensome.
Yeah, that there is a topic right there of discussion. No, thank you. I think before we finish, I wanted to bring Brendan on. Brendan is still there. If you are, put your hand up so I can bring you onto stage. Because Brendan's a bit younger, but is out there doing a whole lot of amazing stuff. He's in council, like local council, and a lawyer. And I wanted to get his 2 cents on it, but I don't know if he's still here. I guess maybe he's not here. Maybe he had to go just now. He must have left. Oh well, we'll have to wait for next time. But yeah, look, I think it's been so good to hear from everybody. And this is just our first go at opening the can of worms of these topics. I think not only we've got a lot to say, and everyone's experiences are so precious and so valuable, but we also, I think, bring issues to the fore. And language, for one, I think, Danny, as we just finish up, Danny, you did mention the word leader. Sometimes language within Christian circles has so many connotations to it that actually we close off to a word because we have all these expectations on it. And I think for Kingdom Collective and what we're trying to do through the OTARAP challenge is actually challenge the words and the language that we use so that we can stay open, and almost lean in and go, is that what you're talking about? Is that what discipleship is? And for us, as we went on this journey as a house church, it's like the word discipleship had all these connotations that we actually kind of program, blah, blah, blah. And just rediscovering true discipleship has been such an amazing journey. And I think, so as we go on this journey together, every fortnight, we just want to kind of invite this kind of discussion where share your 2 cents, share the stuff that's coming out of the issues of your life, and the wisdom that's coming from your life, and hear wisdom from others. And I think, there's going to be a lot of fruit and a lot of learnings that come from it. So, thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. And it is 6:15 now, so we'll close it off. But Danny, thanks for helping me MC today. You're going to do next time, okay? All right. See you guys if you want to stay back in the lounge.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.